Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the show today. We're going to be getting into some interesting stuff, and watch out, Odin's wife has got her eye on you. Okay,
Uh-oh.
all right, don't you
Uh-oh.
mess up. But hope you all had yourselves a really good weekend. I had a very quiet weekend. I just kind of stayed home and relaxed. We didn't have any plans this weekend. I had no work, which is rare. Saturday and Sunday off, 2 days in a row. My God. My wife was all like, "Well, this the Omicron numbers and everything. You guys stay home." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." So I read. You know what I did? I
Uh-oh.
read. I read the new Ascendant book. Uh,
Ascendant?
Ascendant. It's a RPG, a new RPG,
Ah.
superhero RPG. 440 pages. hmm And it was a wonderful, wonderful read. There was a line in there that was so beautifully nerdy. It's just exactly what like a Big Bang Theory joke would have been made out of, right?
Oh no.
How nerdy we are, because they were basing. He was explaining in the writing. It was explaining that an inconsistency or an incongruity from earlier mathematics, and he explained, well, we're basing the algorithm of the of our formula upon energy, transformation, getting into the whole E equals mc squared. But yet we're doing this other mathematical application via the square root, right? you know. And during all of that, it made me laugh because it's so pure, beautiful nerddom, just perfect nerddom, dude. I'm really happy though. I had talked about it. I said I was going to read it. I bought it and read it, and I recommend the shit out of it, dude. You know what they did? They took the old Marvel superhero role playing game, the old DC role playing game, and all the
Hmm.
modern cool little things that have happened in the past 40 years since then, and made this just beautifully elegant, simple yet complicated system. I'm very impressed. Very impressed.
It's
That was
good.
my weekend.
It's good.
How was yours?
Good. Mine was fine. I did nothing. I had one of them kind of weekends where I basically did nothing. I did a little writing, fleshed out some stuff, did a little editing on the chapters I have done. I still got I still got a lot of chapters to write, like actual first drafts of yet. But I just kind of this is the first time since everything that happened with my father that I've been in the mood to actually
Sure.
write and actually felt the juices flowing. And so I just got in there and did some things, fleshed out some more stuff like that. But other than that, didn't really do much. Tried to go to my wife's nephew, so my nephew by marriage, his basketball game. He's real young. He's like, he's a kid. But somehow we got the wrong address, so we just eventually just went to the store. And other than that, we've just been hanging out. It's been nice actually.
Well, that's cool. That is cool. I am a type of person. We're writing right now, but I do read like every day. I read, but when I do get a writing project, which they come in every now and then, right? I do a lot
Yeah.
of like textbook type chapters and stuff. But anyway, when those things come in, what I'll do, because I'll have so many months to get it done, right?
Mm.
And I'll just write it like in day one or two, just spit it out, right? And then I leave it. I don't look at it for a week or two. Then I go back and I read it again, and of course I change it. And I do this, 3 or 4 times successfully until I before I send it to a proofreader. So
Interesting.
that's how I do my process. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
better.
that's what I'm gonna have to do eventually. Once I get it, functionally where I want it, the narrative and the individual pieces, and obviously it all put down on a screen on paper. I'm gonna have to find a proofreader, somebody who's neutral, not a friend, something like that.
Oh yeah, no,
That
no.
way I can, make sure it flows well. Like me and one of my friends the other day on Discord, there was this paragraph on one of the chapters that just bugged me. It had all the right information that I wanted in it, but it just didn't feel right when I would read it. Every time I'd read over it, and I just sent it to him, and I said, "Why does this bug me so much?" And he sent me some things, and it was just so much better afterwards. And it's something that I think is very important to do and very important to have is
Yep.
at least one other set of eyes, because stuff like that can happen. You can put down the information you want, and it sounds okay, but it's just not quite good enough, right? It could be tweaked a little bit. You can change a sentence around or sentence structure, or take a sentence out, put it somewhere else, stuff like that. That you need a second set of eyes, because oftentimes I've noticed in this process that when I'm writing, if I'm in the zone, I'm just going, boop, 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 just getting the data, getting the information down, telling the story from point A to point B, blah 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 blah, as quickly as I can, because I know I'm going to go back and fix what needs fixed anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes even in doing that, you kind of get in this like almost a writer's block where something just doesn't work, but you don't know why, and that's where a second set of eyes can really help.
It can. Time also is useful, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, no, no. There's a process to it. As far as proofreaders on the internet, you can find a lot of professional companies that you can do it digitally,
Yeah.
and you should. It's not that expensive. I mean, I just had my RH negative paper I had to turn in a while back, and that cost me $300, I think, something like that, for all that proofreading aspects of it. And with that company, I sent it back and forth a couple times, so the whole
Mm.
process, but it wasn't very
Yeah.
expensive. And I don't know, you don't have yourself. My situation is a little different. I don't write fantasy stuff. It's all nonfiction, right? But
Hmm.
they cover the cost of that stuff, so that's above and beyond my pay, right?
Right.
And unless you have yourself set up with a publisher already, you're not going to have
Hmm.
that luxury, right? Uh,
Yeah.
but um, but it's not that expensive.
No, it's definitely worth it too.
Yeah.
Plus, being around these circles, I know enough people who can, because I mean, eventually, like I said, I've said this before on different streams, I'm eventually going to need an artist to help me with certain things, because even in the book, there's going to be a page here, a page there that has things drawn on it that I want to be put in the book, that are things like somebody's looking at or whatever, and it will just, instead of having to describe like a symbol in great detail, just
Uh-huh.
draw the damn symbol. Just put the
Sure.
symbol in the book, and there you go. Now everybody knows what it looks like.
Well,
And that's
there's
I'm gonna have people do that.
we have lots of great artists around here. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as speed and clarity, my John Dillard is amazing.
Yep.
Weldon is a bit busy. Gary Shipman, wonderful choice, wonderful man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you got a ton of choices really. But you should do that. I don't have. There's never any illustrations with my stuff. Although occasionally because they do send me a copy of the textbook when it's done, because I'm in it. But sometimes they'll put like a photograph.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
absolutely.
I don't get to have cool stuff. Yeah, but I mean, it's just textbook shit, like so I don't expect it to be cool. That's not the point. But the point is, there is a process to writing, and even though I've never professionally written any fantasy work, I've never been published with fantasy stuff. I don't imagine it's any different, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a story that exists that was completely done by one person. Just about everybody is going to have somebody do some editing and do some,
Hmm.
just proofreading.
Yeah.
And then you might even just have people who you like, you value their opinion, or you think they'll have good insight, and you just let them read it and let them tell you what they think. And maybe there's changes they can see that make sense that you didn't see while you're writing it. Because, this idea that in some authors absolutely are geniuses,
Oh yeah.
but even geniuses make mistakes.
Of course.
So very simple to do, especially if you get stuck in whatever thought you're having. And one thing I've noticed while writing is, in my head, I know exactly what I'm looking at that I'm putting on the page. But that doesn't mean that I'm translating it well. So sometimes I'll go back and make sure that when I'm reading this, it sounds like exactly what I want it to. Like if I'm talking about a cave, what does that cave look like, right? I need to be able to tell people that, or at least give them a general idea of the cave. because it's a cave. So how much different do caves look? Um, Stuff like that. And that's something that a second set of eyes or a third set of eyes, even if you are so inclined, will be able to point out and help you understand how to be more descriptive, or maybe set up a narrative thread a different way, or maybe your foreshadowing wasn't good enough, so when something happened they didn't see it coming at all. uh, these sorts of things are things that you need a second set of eyes for, at least minimum, I'd say.
No, no, I agree. And that set of eyes can be different for different takes on it, right?
Yeah.
I know for me, one of my proud moments. This is a long time ago, but when I did my first RH negative, entry, because I do a lot of that. I don't really talk about it much here, but I actually was lucky enough that Mr. Finkel, Dr. Finkel, actually looked over my stuff. I know that means nothing to you, but that was one of the biggest moments of my life, dude.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was really cool. But yeah, no, you can have people that aren't even in the field look at it and just kind of get a feel for the. Because I don't want to write something that is going to put them to sleep. I want them to enjoy the read. I want them to be excited about history and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And actually, it was one
Absolutely.
of the critiques I had a long time ago when I was actually doing it, because I usually do things for college level, but I actually one of my first textbook entries. I don't know how I got in that world, but one of my first textbook entries was for high school, right? And that was one of the critiques I had was like, can you make this less dry? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. So I went back and I tried, and but yeah, no, writing is a lot of fun, but you do need extra eyes on it, and a professional editing company also is not going to be eyes. It's just going to be grammatic, spelling things, though. Keep that in
Yeah.
mind. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But anyway, you guys don't want to hear about that. But we do have Curious 2A in here. We got Roger. He said talk about something getting heavy. I don't know what that means. We got Dave. Hey, Dave. We got Simple Jack. Nice. And he is live, by the way, which is good. But let's go ahead
Uh,
and get into it, man.
let's
Uh, I,
do
yeah,
it.
I don't have a ton of stories today, but I think they're fun ones. And that's always the point. We want to have some fun, right?
Yeah.
So let's come over here. Let me share this up. And I have to thank Aircraft Spots, or excuse me, Space Player, because he was concerned about my safety, and that's nice. And of course, he was concerned about my safety because of this headline here.
I see that. North Korea has fired an unidentified missile into the East Sea/Sea of Japan. Updates to follow.
Yeah, well, thanks for
Interesting.
telling me. I didn't even know. But yeah, no, this happens all the time, guys. North Korea would never, ever, ever, ever actually drop a missile on Japan because it would be absolutely glass parking
Suicide.
lot, right?
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're saying, "Give us money." You know how you have those dirty, stinky ass, filthy, hadn't showered in 10 years hobos that come up
Yeah.
asking you for change. That's what North Korea is. Yeah.
It's a
Uh,
really big one.
they're just bigger. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's exactly what they are. They're like, they make noise and they're irritating and they want free food and they want some change out of your pocket. And you give them a little bit and they go away for a while. And that's just what North Korea is. Everyone's in this panic. Oh, North Korea is so dangerous. No, they are not, dude. That is a joke. Please stop. It's not funny. But thank you for your concern. But I didn't even know. Literally, that's how little the Japanese give a shit about this. I didn't even know this. So there you go.
Yeah, the Japanese aren't worried. The American war party, the warmongers, are the ones who. That's who this was for. It's not for Japan. The
That's fair.
Japanese, like, they don't care.
Yeah.
They largely don't care. North Korea. The only thing North Korea could do would be to hit them with a long range strike. Otherwise, they don't have a navy, and if they do, they might as well not. and Japan has one of the best in the whole world. So
Yeah,
the Japanese aren't in any way afraid of North Korea. But the American warhawks love this kind of stuff.
sure,
So that's really what
sure.
this was for. That's what it's always for. It's a message to America
Give us
more than
shit.
anything.
Give us shit.
They want attention. They want aid, and they also want to look like the big kid at the table. Right.
They do.
That's how Trump got him to talk to him.
Yep.
First he treated him like a punk because he is a punk, and then second he treated him like like a big kid basically. He showed him enough deference that they would have the conversation,
Yeah.
and that's all it took. It
That's
just
it.
took a little bit of understanding of what this dude actually is after. Old Kim, and the government apparatus around him that really controls that place. And if Trump was able to get in there and effectively end the Korean War, which still he doesn't get any credit for, which is shocking.
Well, he doesn't get
Uh,
credit for anything he did, dude.
but that being said, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much. I don't think anybody in North Korea is suicidal enough to actually strike Japan.
No.
I don't think if they think Daddy China would protect them after that, they're out of their damn mind.
Well,
Um,
their relationship with China has never been great. Let's be fair.
yeah,
But
exactly.
another thing to keep in mind with that is Japan. Not only do we have the Patriot missile system, we also have the Jericho system. So yeah, the only way a missile would hit Japan is because the government here wanted it to, so they could declare war, kind of like the Pearl Harbor red flag, right? I mean, we knew we were listening to the Japanese codes. That's a big air quote, for years and years and years before they came to Pearl Harbor. We knew they were coming, and we let them come because the government had been trying to push Americans into that war, and Americans didn't want anything to do with it. And the interesting thing, why didn't the Americans at that time? This is interesting that how no one bothers to study goddamn history. Why didn't the Americans want to get into that war?
Well, there's a few reasons. What reason are you about to drop on me?
Because they agree with Germany.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. 40% of the country was pro Germany
And and
because
and more
roughly
uh,
40% of the country is German. So
yeah, but
they're like,
a lot more were sympathetic,
mhm.
right? So that's something no one wants to talk about, I guess. But then again, I don't want to get into a war conversation, but people keep telling me Germany lost that war. Did they?
Sure don't look like it anymore.
Well, I mean,
Jeez.
but I'm not even talking about that. Where did Germany go? Where did all their elite and all their scientists, where did they go? They mainly came to America. They
It,
created a new organization we call NASA, and they're all throughout our government. So it's like, did Germany lose, or did they just simply come to a new spot?
you just changed tactics. Well, a lot of them went down into Southern America
Well,
too.
Argentina as well. That's true.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Which
that's not the point.
yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about North Korea. North Korea, I remember Trump saying that old what's his name Obama said that told Trump that his biggest concern was North Korea. That he said there's no way for them to solve that problem without violence, and he doesn't think the American people would want that war. And obviously, most American people don't want that war. Um, but Trump went in there and did it without violence.
Yeah.
And if Trump was still president right now, this stuff it might still happen, but the idea that it was this big scary thing, nobody'd be afraid.
I think
Uh,
we'd be talking about the big talks between North and South Korea is what we'd be doing
yes,
instead of
yes,
this
the
this
reunification
yeah.
that will be forthcoming, hopefully.
Yeah.
Uh, that would be interesting to see
Because
what that looks like and how that works out.
you do have about half of the population of South Korea that really wants unification. They want their country
Yeah,
whole again, and I don't blame them, right? And therefore, when you have such a high population, you have leaders like they have in now who are very pro North Korea in regards to unification. They're willing to make concessions, right?
yeah,
And Trump was like, "Cool, they want to make concessions. Let's go for it." I think the problem is the Democrats don't want concessions. They don't
no,
want a whole and unified Korea. This is
right.
not beneficial to their propaganda. So,
Well, to their masters.
Maybe
You know, the war party wants
you're
war wherever they can
you're
make it.
not gonna bait me today, buddy. You're not. You're not. I'm moving away. Matter of fact, I'm leaving. But thank you very much for your concern. But we're fine. We're fine. Someone else in here, who was it? Roger mentioned the tsunami warning. That was big news. I heard that for sure.
Yeah.
Whereas I didn't hear anything about this. But luckily the tsunami was nothing. It could have been something. It could have been, because if you go look at that report of that underwater volcano going off on Tonga, that's freaking impressive, dude. You see that satellite footage of that?
Oh yeah, I saw somebody actually was by it when it happened, and
Oh,
they
jeez.
recorded it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I watched a video of it, and they got a screen capture of it because you know when volcanoes go off, a lot of energy is released, right, and it causes
Oh yeah.
electrostatic
Yeah.
lightning. So there's a picture of a singular lightning bolt. Looks like it's basically causing the volcano. It goes right into or the eruption. It goes right into the middle of the smoke, and it just looks really awesome.
Oh, that's cool. I'm just glad no one got hurt, and there was hardly any damage. So it was one of those natural disasters that wasn't disastrous. So that's
Yeah,
nice.
there's very few things I worry about less than Japan as being safe. And what I mean by that is China's not messing with them. They're going to act like they're gonna, but they're not gonna.
No.
And North Korea is the same way. It's all a bunch of chest bang. No, nobody over there wants to screw with Japan. They all know it. Their history is replete with every time they've tried, it's been a bad day.
Yeah.
So they're just not going to do it. They're going to act like it, but they're not going to actually do it.
Off topic a little bit. Since you mentioned that, because you're talking about the kamikaze moment with the
Mm-hmm.
Mongols came in and or the Tartars came in and tried to attack Japan twice, and a
Yeah.
tsunami came up and not a tsunami, a typhoon came up and kicked their ass. This kamikaze, that's where the kamikaze comes from, by the way, is from this
Yes.
event. It's funny that that you mentioned that because um, I was making an example in my one of my older classes, older student classes, and I was talking about symbolism and how useful it is. And I started out
Mm-hmm.
the class very, very simply. I had one of the students go up and draw the toilet symbols, right? And of
Mm-hmm.
course, the universal toilet symbols are a triangle with a little circle above it, right? And then an
Mm-hmm.
inverted triangle with a little circle about it, representing the male and female. And I was like, well, these symbols are very universal and they're super ancient. And they're like, oh, really? Toilet symbols are ancient? Yes, they are. And of course, I took the two symbols and put them together. And of course, that makes a Star of David, which is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. It's male and female in the symbiotic unity, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I show all kind of things, and I said, but symbolism could be used for propaganda. And of course, I put the swastika up, which everybody in the world uses for religious purposes, and the Nazis stole it. But and of course now it's this evil thing, and it's not, right.
No.
But then I went into other ideas of symbolism where art can be used in the same way. And I asked them a very simple question. I said, everybody know in Asia knows who Buddha is, right? And I'm like, what does Buddha look like? And of course, everybody in the class agreed he's a fat Chinaman, bald, right? And of course, that's not. Buddha is from North India. He was blonde with blue eyes. We know exactly what he looks like. We have his entire freaking biography. He's a royal
Mm-hmm.
prince, right? And he looks like me, right?
Right.
But here, the only people in Asia that represent him even slightly correctly is the Thai, which they still keep the blue eyes. But in Asia, he's this fat Chinaman, fat bald Chinaman, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, that's not who he was. Why is that being represented? And then I juxtapose that by saying, here's another example. Who was Chinggis Khan? You guys would know it as Genghis Khan, and which is actually closer to the correct pronunciation. And of
Yeah.
course, he's a fat Chinaman, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the image they've seen. Of course, no. Genghis Khan, Khan meaning as a title, it's not his name. He was a redhead, blue-eyed Turk,
Yes.
right? I mean, he wasn't Mongolian at all. But yet, and I kind of they didn't know this. Of course, this is new information to them, and I said, well, now look at the two next to each other. Saying that a Westerner, a foreigner, a redheaded, blue-eyed general defeated you is embarrassing, right? So
Yeah.
changing that to a Chinaman, oh, well, at least we were beat by one of their own. I get that propaganda. We all get that propaganda. But why is it important that your religious priest, because, Buddha's not a god. There are no gods in Buddhism, right? We
Yeah.
are gods. That's the whole idea. But the thing with it is, Wha why would we change his appearance? See, I get the war guy. I understand the propaganda on that because it's an embarrassment. But why the religious one, right? And I
Mm-mm.
kind of left that in their minds to think about. But it's a fair question, right? Because we can all understand the propaganda of not wanting to admit some foreigner came in and kicked your ass. I get
Yeah.
that. We all get that. But the religious one, who cares? He's just a priest, right? He's
Well,
not.
they do the same they do the same thing with Jesus. Korean Jesus is the meme, but that's real.
Oh,
If you
and
go
Black
to a lot of
Jesus.
these churches, yeah, they change Jesus around to whatever race they're at, which to most Christians they probably wouldn't, especially modern Christians, they probably don't care because it's largely irrelevant to,
Right.
the spiritual avatar or whatever you want to call it that is Jesus Christ. But there's a few different there's a few like positive reasons I can think to do it, and there's also a few nefarious reasons I can think to do it. So like one of the positive ones would be that it helps people relate to him better in that area if
Yeah,
you
yeah.
look
I'm
similar.
sure that's why. Yeah.
But the nefarious one is they don't want, like you said, they don't want to feel embarrassed that they got conquered, right, or beaten in military by
Yeah.
somebody else. Kind of the same thing here. They don't want to feel inferior to the people that this being looks like. So
Right.
they change him around to theirs so that they don't have that inferiority complex or
Yeah.
whatever.
And it doesn't really matter. Who cares? It's not
Yeah.
important. Neither one of them are really important. But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's fair. But there's lots of little things like this. Like the great Muhammad, may his name be blessed and praised for, I don't know what your fuck you're supposed to say. Someone look it up. But he was a
Peace
redheaded,
be upon
blue-eyed.
him.
Well, peace be upon him. Thank you. He
Yeah.
was a redheaded, blue-eyed guy too. Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
They were everywhere.
Well, of course they were, and that's a whole nother conversation. TFT possibly. But the thing with it is, the Western people don't know this, but all the Muslims know. Matter of fact, you go to a lot of Muslim lands, you'll see, and I'm sure you've seen it, and maybe you didn't understand why. A lot of Muslims dye their beard, especially their beard, red.
Hmm.
You ever noticed it?
Yeah.
Next time go check it out. You'll see a lot of them got dyed red beard. It's clearly dyed because it's a poor job. They don't have Stefan down at sorry about that down at the local beauty salon to get it done. But it's because they're emulating the prophet, right? But there's a lot of this kind of stuff that happens, and with the Yeshua, whether you're talking about King Jesus or Yeshua, both of those we're talking about, first century, Anatolians, right, and
Yes.
Semitics. Those are blonde, blue-eyed people, man. What you see
Yep.
today, that's a an
Well, there's
admixture.
still some over there. If you look in
Oh
Syria
yeah,
and
there are a lot
in
of them. Yeah,
places, there's a lot of people who look like they're straight out of Scandinavia,
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
pure-blooded, full-blooded Syrian.
Oh sure,
It's
lots of them.
there's no reason to believe that Jesus wouldn't have been that way. He probably had like an olive skin tone,
Mhm.
but I don't see any reason why he wouldn't have. It wasn't possible he had blue eyes and a different color of hair than what we conceptualize him as.
Yeah,
There's absolutely no reason he couldn't have. Heck, there's no reason he couldn't have been Chinese. Could have happened. Why not? But we don't.
well,
It doesn't matter at the end of the day because at the end of the day, the message is universal, or at least it's supposed to be.
yeah.
And that's really what matters. But there is this weird like obsession that certain groups have with Jesus or other figures like Jesus, like a Buddha or whatever. I'm sure they would do the same with Zoroaster and all these others, uh, looking like them. It's strange to me. I've never understood it. It's kind of like in comic books. I don't understand this obsession with changing characters around to look like a specific demographic when I've been reading comic books pretty much my whole life off and on, and every comic book fan that I've ever known that didn't look like Peter Parker still liked Peter Parker. He was Peter Parker. That's what Peter Parker looks
Yeah.
like. He's cool. We like Peter Parker.
Well,
It's kind of like there's a one of the biggest or I shouldn't say biggest, one of the most fervent groups of people for anime are black men. Black men love them some anime. At least a lot of them do.
Oh, that's
And
cool. I didn't know that.
look at anime. How much representation you think they have in anime? They have like none, but they're over here rocking Goku and reading One Piece and stuff. One of the guys I watch occasionally on YouTube, he's a black guy, big old black guy, probably about 350, and he reviews like One Piece and stuff.
Awesome.
And he's pretty entertaining actually. He's a pretty funny dude. But yeah, and that's pretty common in anime fandom and in manga fandom. Black guys over here
Hmm.
love it, especially Dragon Ball. Holy crap, dude! Dragon Ball, it just crosses all boundaries. Dragon Ball's
Sure.
everywhere. It's an
Well,
amazing thing.
I'm not really surprised. I mean, when I was a kid, I grew up and I had a lot of black friends. It's just, well, they weren't black; they were just my friends, Americans. But you couldn't go in, kind of like when I was in the South, you couldn't go into someone's house without seeing Elvis on Black Velvet. But you went in their house is always Bruce Willis, Bruce Lee picture somewhere.
Yep.
Right? So, yeah, no, most people don't give a shit. A person is a person. Their
We just like
accomplishments
what's
are their
cool.
accomplishment. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, that's true.
It's
Yeah.
it. The
And
rule
Bruce
of cool
Willis
is the supreme rule.
was
That's
super
it.
cool. Yeah, even when
He
he was
was.
wavy gravy, he was cool.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's a deep one. And yes, Eagle, you should start an enterprise with red hair dye. You'd make money.
that's right. Millions. Be rich.
Yeah, rich man.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's some kind of weird ethnic religious thing why Hollywood is like dead set on destroying redheads. Like they
I
just
don't know.
they just do everything in their power to get rid of them gingers. They can't have them. They can't be having them around.
Yeah, but I mean, it is oh, God damn it, you. But no, it is interesting because one of the problems we have in anthropology is they won't dig deep enough. I mean, literally, you'll have anthropological teams on site. They'll get to a certain depth and like, okay, we don't need to go any deeper. Humans didn't do anything before this. They literally do
Yeah,
that. I'm
yeah.
not kidding you. This is universally done, not occasionally done. Universally done. And of course, why are the, what's the real thing going on behind it? Because I think this is my opinion. This is my opinion. However, I think when you make these accusations of European centrism or the let's just use the word Aryan centrism. I know that word is problematic for multiple reasons beyond what you think it is. But
Mhm.
whatever. Let's just use the word Aryan because everyone else wants to. Um, uh, but I have to agree, though. You see, because if you look at the post, which I perceive as a post-apocalyptic world we live in, after the 12,000-year cataclysm, which has been scientifically proven now, so that's good.
Yeah.
But what you do have is clearly there was a group of blondes and redheads coming out of the Ural Mountains, which is kind of where in and around that area is where white people came from. By the way, we're not naturally European. Okay, but they came out of the Ural Mountains and they survived the cataclysm. And they kind of just hunker down for a couple thousand years. And it seems, if you look at all the history and all the stuff that people say, they got a little bit of conscientiousness in them, and they sent out these teams of people to go around the world and try to help people rebuild. Is what seems to happen. And
Hmm.
whether it was the intention from the beginning to be absolute dickheads or it just kind of happened, a lot of them ended up being in charge for better and for worse everywhere.
Right.
Right? So if you only account history as starting after that cataclysm, which is what anthropology does, right? And they've tricked all the other races into believing it too, by the way. Keep that in mind. If you do that, it is an Aryan centric world. The Aryans did everything, they did everything, right? But the thing is, we all know from all the evidence that's around us that there was a world before that. And how do we play into that? We don't know who for I don't even think it was us. I think it was a different type of human that actually got it all kicked off. I'm just saying, I think there's an agenda there, and it is an Aryan centric one or a European centric one. And I think that's unfortunate because there's more to learn and it's more interesting. Now, a lot of people say, "Who gives a shit?" Well, they really seem to, and their agenda is
Yes.
based heavily upon it. Therefore,
That's the
anytime,
problem, right?
yeah,
Is that it's not so much that most people care, know, or want to know or care about any of that stuff, super ancient stuff like that. It's that the people who should don't want the people who don't to know it.
yeah,
And that makes always makes me go, why? Why is this such a scary thought? Because think about it. Nobody in those circles would question for a second that life came out of Africa, or at least most of them wouldn't, right?
right,
So none of them would actually, when you think about it, none of them are questioning our black heritage, our African heritage as a human race, as the human race, because allegedly we all came out of Africa, and now I'm hearing it could even have been from one man was the first actual human, and his genes spread through everybody else. Okay, fine. Nobody's offended by that. But if you say that, well, about 12,000 years ago, 10, 12,000, somewhere in there, basically all life as we knew it was effectively wiped out besides some animal life and things. A big cataclysm happened, nearly destroyed the whole world. A group of humans survived, small group, but enough. And they kind of spread everywhere and kind of were in charge of everything. Nobody would care if those people were not called Aryan, right? Which is what we've always called them, even long before Hitler.
oh,
If they
yeah,
were not called that, nobody would give a shit because it'd be like, oh,
yes,
that's interesting. But
yeah.
because of Hitler's weird obsession with Aryanism, uh, this is where we are. But the truth of it is, every time we look deeper and deeper and deeper, just about every single ethnic group we have, every single major civilization was influenced by these people directly.
At least in our
And
modern run, yeah, in
yes,
the past,
yes,
10,000 years.
right,
But yeah, no, I don't like the word Aryan because it's more like saying Druid or priest. They weren't a
yes,
race; they were a class.
correct.
And the Jubases are part of that.
Yeah,
Let's see.
absolutely.
Someone here asked an actually interesting question. Uh, Roger says, How did China get their Cantonese dialect come from?" Well, this is talking about a Greek dialect. Well, because these people spread out from all the way from Ireland all the way to West China. That was
Yes.
their range, and they lived all over the place. And all of these symbols we have, including the swastika and the Star of David and any other symbol you can think of, they're the ones that brought it into being. Now, where did they get it from? That's a good question, right? Where did they get it from? Because it seems to have been birthed whole cloth, and that's nonsense. So,
One of the things that drove me away from organized Christianity, I still consider myself a follower of Jesus Christ's message, but I don't consider myself a Christian. But one of the main reasons, besides just blatant hypocrisy and weakness in the church, was when I found out that the cross is not a Christian symbol.
no, it's not.
And
That's
not a
old,
single
dude.
person ever told me that. It's ancient, ancient, ancient,
Oh yeah,
that symbol. And exactly the way that Christians use it, right? As a symbol of devotion, the cross has been even. And then I found out, I dug a little deeper, I found out that the mother and child paradigm, the Holy Mother, that Catholics especially and Orthodox especially really lean into, that's way older than Christianity too. Way
yeah.
older.
Well, and the interesting thing about it is they made sure, the Catholic Church particularly, they made sure that their symbolism of it was in that old ancient symbol. Because if you go back and you study how did the Romans crucify, they didn't crucify with a piece of wood that shape. That's not what they did. What they did was hit
Right.
a wood with a piece with a T on top. It looked like a T, not a cross. And they would actually tie or nail your hands over the top of it, so you could kind of you would hang on longer because you actually have your arms to hold your body weight up for a period of time, and that's part of the torture. I mean, the freaking Romans were bastards, dude.
Yeah.
But
Evil, brutal.
they were horrible. But that's what crucifixion looks like. Doesn't look anything like when you go to a church. But they did that intentionally because they wanted to incorporate that ancient religion. Because, like I told you, the initial creation with Emperor Vespasian, and then later Constantine, basically hijacking the whole damn thing. It was about mistresism. And they kind of lost the battle in the West because they wanted what the Eastern Orthodox Church is what they wanted. And seeing as there is a bit of mystery in our history as to what happened to the Eastern Church, because that now that's a TFT. But what happened to Tartaria? Where is it? That question, I think, might go back to those ancient times where the West, they went with the religion that everybody knows, where it's not what the intention of Constantine was. It was what the Eastern Orthodox do, which is basically just Mithraism, or the ancient animistic religions, right? So there might be something there. Maybe those Catholics and Protestants in that western part eventually did do something nasty to him, because something happened. But anyway, boy, I'm off track, and it's your fault. Damn it.
It's
Uh,
so easy.
well, I mean, it's irritating. The ignorance can be irritating, right? Because it's not like it takes a lot to know these things.
Right.
Well, maybe it does. Maybe it is deep, but it is interesting conversations. But nevertheless, let's get me back to my news, please. I'm going to get back to my news. Okay, here we go. All right, now I wanted to talk about this a little bit, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Every week, I try to talk about board games and stuff like that. Today, I want to do something a little bit different. Now, if you look at this Kickstarter page here, this is my account, and you see up at the top it says the creator has canceled this project. Your pledge will no longer be collected. Okay. Now, this was, damn, 7 years ago. Okay. And this happened a couple of years before I started my YouTube channel. But I wanted to talk about this. Now, if you look at this page, you see you have a superhero board game. Okay. It's well created page. There's minis involved. There's a whole shitload of work done. There's tutorials, and the game looked fun, and I backed it, as did a whole bunch of other people. You can see it. So what was that? What is that? Nearly $50,000? Yeah, nearly 50 grand.
Mhm.
And if you look here, they have like videos, how to playthroughs, and I mean, all kinds of stuff in this thing. And if you look at the art, it's pretty good, and it was exciting. Or we were all looking forward to being part of this and stuff. But what happened? Well, because it's canceled, right? So let me find that character. Uh, where is she? So we can find her. We've seen her several times, but I want just a single. Oh, all these videos were canceled too. This whole project went to hell. But anyway, let me come back to the top because she's easy to find. This one here in the middle with the bow. Okay. Now,
Mm.
let me see if I find a better picture for you. He might have taken it off. Yeah, it's not. There we go. Okay. Now, if you look at this picture of this angel character, right? Now,
Mhm.
would you say she is gratuitously dressed, over sexualized?
No.
No, not any more than any other comic, right? We've seen worse, actually.
Mm.
But there were a small group of people who were really, really, really bitching about this character. This is and this is in 2015, guys. Okay, and the majority of us who are, because we're in the chats and we're talking about this, we're excited about this game, right? And we said, dude, don't you touch it. You leave it alone. It's just fine. But he touched it. He covered her up,
Mm.
right? And we're like, why did you do that? You could see his stress. He was, I don't know what to do. He's obviously a soft boy. He has no
Mhm.
balls, and he was getting bullied by a small group of people. Even though the majority of us were saying, dude, you're fine, he caved. And as soon as he caved, it pissed everybody so much that everyone just walked away from this project, and it's dead, and
Yep.
it's never come back. Now, look at the amount of work. I just scrolled through very quickly, but I scrolled through these pages. That's a lot of work, dude. That's a lot of work. That's money out for art. I don't know that he's the artist or not. I don't remember. He probably not. But there's money out. There's just so much work. Of course, all the gameplay preparation, all the testing. It's just a ton of work, dude. Gone. Absolutely gone. This character too, he had put out models. I'm sure we can find it in the comments if I want to go digging for it, but where he covered her up more too. And it's a perfect example of go woke, get broke. Early example, because the vast majority, I mean, dude, just hundreds of people telling him, dude, don't you touch it. Don't listen to these idiots. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But he caved. He caved to a small group of people, right? And it absolutely blew his stuff out of the water. Who knows how much money this guy lost? And more importantly, it looked like a fun game, and we didn't
Yeah,
get it. It doesn't
does look pretty
exist.
cool. Does look pretty cool. Yeah, it's so dumb. It's one of those things, we always tell people don't give in to them, don't listen to them, don't cave to them, don't apologize to them. These people are not good people. They're not acting in good faith. They're bullies and they just want power. They don't even actually believe most of the stuff they say. Like, there is no way you can look at that original sketch of that character, which I'm assuming is what was in that picture, and say that that was overly sexualized. I mean, yeah, she's sexy, but sexy women exist.
Yeah,
I've seen them. I married one.
it's comic
They're
books,
out
dude.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you see here in this picture off to the side, he ended up taking the brown part and bringing it all the way up to her throat, is what he
Yeah.
had proposed. Because these
Um,
pictures here, he already had done. He already spent the money on it, right? But I just thought today it might be interesting to talk about this because what an absolute disaster. The guy had $50,000 in the bank, right? And he would have made more because it was starting to move. And these things, a lot of people will sit and watch in the last 3 days because I don't know why they want to be in the last 3 days. It'll just jump up like crazy. He could have made 100 grand off this, potentially. He could have made 100 grand off of this, but because of his absolute softness. And we were talking to him in the chat, dude. We were talking to him directly, and he's like, I don't know. And we were like, dude, look at all of us compared to those 3, 4 people that are complaining. What are you doing? But he caved, right? And it's a real shame. You see the way the board game is set up is very interesting. You had to go around and make and decide where you want to put your character to patrol the city, and there was all kind of challenges. It was a neat looking game. I think it would by now we'd probably have expansions or maybe even a second edition or what have you by now. Right, we are talking 7 years later. There would have been more to it, and it's got this nice anime feel to it. It's a real freaking shame, dude. Look at the art. It's gorgeous, dude.
somebody should get a hold of this guy wherever he is and just ask if they can make it for him. Just put it out there because he has seemingly anyway pretty much all the work done, at least all the foundational work.
Yeah.
So
And
it looks ready to go.
he had a full working prototype too, because down here on the bottom, there are walkthroughs. And let me play it. I'll show you. Right?
Yeah, somebody should definitely do that. It's a great idea. I like the kind of big two, not big two aspect of it. Like it looks similar enough that they can't sue, but also or not similar enough that they can't sue, but similar enough that you know what you're looking at, right?
Wow. He pulled off all of his own personal videos, dude. He only
Jeez.
Jesus, you absolute freaking simp, dude. But let me see if he gave a copy to Undead Viking. Undead Viking's a cool guy. You'd like him. Yeah, he did. He gave a copy to
The
Undead Viking.
solution to that problem when they start coming for your stuff is to make it worse.
See?
I'm not even kidding. Lean into it, double down. They're like, oh, she's too sexy. Okay, she's wearing less clothes now. Screw you.
Yeah. But
Don't apologize to him. You didn't do anything wrong.
yeah. Well, no, he shouldn't have, and it screwed him over. And as you saw, it's a canceled project. Now, Undead Viking here, you see, the guy had already prepared enough prototypes to send out a very seemingly finished prototype to Undead Viking. Right?
Yep.
If you don't know who Undead Viking is, go check him out. He's cool. He's a bearded, beer belly guy who loves board games. He's awesome. And he does like a podcast every week too. But we have a very complete looking prototype here, don't we?
Does look pretty good.
right? I mean, and I like I said, this is back when I was really into board games, and I threw a lot of money on Kickstarter. I enjoyed it; it was fun, right? And I was definitely behind this game. I was like, oh, this looks fun because a lot of the superhero games we get are either card based, which is fine, the versus system. Any of you who know that what that is, or they're mini fighting things, which is cool too, right? But this looked like an actual randomizable board game for superheroes. And it
Yeah.
was quite involved and detailed. You can make your character. I mean, you choose the art. Yeah, I guess you could put any art you want on there if you wanted. But you actually step one of playing this board game is going through the creation process, and they have special little decks where you can you everybody has a certain amount of money points, and you can purchase superpowers, and you could build your own character each game. That's
Hmm.
cool. That sounds
Yeah,
fun, doesn't it? Yeah.
it does. I wish somebody would make a video game with a nice big open world where you could do that again because there's just a lack of that.
Yeah, well,
Like a cool. It doesn't even have to be like an MMO. Just like a cool game you could play like cooperatively, right? Like
yeah.
Diablo or something, where you get to make superheroes and fly around a world and go fight bad guys. That could be so cool.
There are a couple of companies working on it. There's three, and off the top of my head, that are trying to do that. City of Titans would be the forerunner, I guess. But the
Yeah.
problem is the comic book companies who own the IPs. They've made a decision that you don't want to play your own character. You want to be Spider-Man. You want to be Hulk. You want to be Wolverine. Or I'm sorry, you want to be the female version of all of those.
Yeah.
So that's their mentality. So they don't make anything where we can make our own characters. You have to play their IP. And the people who are trying to put things together, like say City of Titans, these are independent fans that are trying
Mhm.
to recreate a game, and they've been busting their ass for years to do so, and they keep us updated quite well. But it is a project of love. It's not anything that has millions of dollars behind it, right?
Well, think how cool it would be if you could just do both. Like, why? Why can't you just do both? Why can't you have a system in a game like that where you can just do a pre-created character, meaning a Spider-Man or whatever,
Yeah.
or you can just make your own with X amount of points to make a move set and a power set, and there you go. There's no good reason that can't be a thing. There's literally no good reason other than nobody's out there doing it, or the real reason is probably because, like you said, the owners to the rights are idiots and they keep getting in the way of what could potentially be a gold mine
Yeah.
when it
Well,
comes to money.
because the suits over in top, like, yeah, they got to play the IP, got to have the IP out there, they'll buy more
Yeah.
toys, right? This is the problem. But I just thought today I'd share this because this is a very early but good example of go woke, get broke. And he seemed
Yeah.
like a nice guy. He was a young guy. He was much younger than me. But he had a vision. He put a lot of hard work into it, and he allowed literally a handful. I mean, it wasn't like hundreds. We're talking literally a handful of people bully him into absolute implosion, right? And because he pissed people off. I remember it very clearly. Because everyone was like, dude, don't you freaking touch it. Here in the picture, you can see he altered it. See the alteration? You
Yeah.
can see he painted over it because he's not an artist, right? You can see it right here, right? He went and he changed it to try to satisfy those people. And it just sent people off. They were like, nope, 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 no. And it's a shame. It's a shame. But how many of these kind of things have happened that I haven't seen, right?
Oh, who knows? Scores of them probably.
Because Kickstarter has a lot of shit on it, dude, and most of it fails. To be fair, but you can't follow all of it. That would be you. Even if you did it full time, you couldn't do it. Anyway, let's move on. But I thought that would be an interesting, different take on
That's a shame. That actually looked like it could have been fun. That could have
It
been a
looked
fun game.
great, dude. Yeah, it's real disappointment. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Uh,
Fan fan favorite Marvel villain rumored to appear in Ironheart series. So Ironheart's going to be a series, not a movie. Good.
Well, they're bringing the Red Hood in, I guess. And it is a popular character, I guess. But here's the more interesting aspect of this story. Okay, Red Hood's going to be in it, but let me read a little bit of this to you.
Marvel's is just called the Hood, even though
Oh,
he
sorry, the
also
Hood. No,
has
you're
red.
right. You're right. He's the Hood. You're right. You're right. Anyway, let me read this a little bit for you because I think it's interesting. Um, Disney Plus subscription of Ironheart says the show will be starring Dominique Thorne as Riri Williams, a genius inventor who creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. All right, they're changing it. It's already changing, right?
Mm.
Riri Williams was created by Brian Michael Bendis in 2016. The character is often praised for bringing more diversity to Marvel Comics as a black female analog to Iron Man. Is she praised for that? Who's praising her? Okay. She will reportedly make her debut appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the upcoming Black Panther sequel, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Now, I know we know that who's the Walking Dead lady that's bald and is like the leader of the military or something like that. What's her name?
Oh, what the hell is her name?
Well, you know that lady. You know the
Yeah,
lady. Yeah, okay. But that lady's going to have herself a lesbian sex scene in it. So, you know, you go, girl.
lovely.
I wonder if it's going to be with the 14-year-old Riri. It might be.
Oh God.
Could be. But anyway, um, let's see. Reported rumors indicate the villain of the series will be a white man in his late 20s that is charming,
Whoa,
magnificent,
what a
loyal.
shocker! It's a white man.
Right.
Wow. Wow, way to do something fucking original,
Yeah,
Marvel.
yeah,
Holy crap, who could have saw this coming? A handsome white man as the villain.
yeah,
Wow, it's because we know why you do it, Marvel. We see through you.
yeah.
We see through y'all, Disney, Marvel, all of you. The reason you select these people, one is race stuff, obviously, but two, you select ones that you know women are gonna wanna fuck. That's why you do it. You select good looking, smooth talking men that are, as it says, athletic builds, slim, whatever,
Yeah.
to be the villains of these things, and they're always white boys, typically British, it seems like. A lot of them are British, and they're ones that women find attractive because you're marketing to wine moms and Twitterati idiots, and you're not marketing to actual comic book people, and you
Right.
haven't been since, the first Iron Man movie.
And that's why they keep failing, right?
Yep.
But the interesting thing beyond that, of course, which is pretty standard now, is if you look at the subtlety of this presser, they've just like they seem to be doing with Ms. Marvel, they're changing the origin and the aspects of the character. She's not person who stole from Iron Man because that's what she was, right?
Yep.
She's just a genius creator, and they're connecting her with Black Panther. Does that mean she's going to be Wakandian?
Maybe.
So they're just like we've seen with several other characters for the cinema. They're changing them radically from their failed comic book origins, and of course, one of the things we got from your boy Zach is he followed the Ironheart comic book a lot, very clearly, and he showed that she's actually a villain because she is. She's a horrible
Yeah.
villain, and that was one of the more interesting things he had done. But is this why we don't see
Yes,
more
Eagle.
Blob? I guess that's true.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's exactly why you don't see more disgusting villains.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
almost always either attractive or they have somebody working for them that is attractive. The villains are. They very rarely go with really ugly people to play the villains. Now, some of that is to just, because of the old canard about stereotypes. Villains are typically in old media are typically very ugly people. And I mean old media, like, books and things back in the day. But modern ones, there's been a big shift in that in most of especially these superhero movies. A lot of these villains are really handsome dudes or really pretty women if they ever deign to use a woman. Uh, I think it's all marketing. I don't even think it. I know it. It's just all marketing. That's all it is. The reason they do that is because they know that there's a select group of people, particularly women, who will only watch movies like this if it has people in them
Yeah.
they want to have sex with.
And
Period.
it is very universal. Now, if you
Yeah.
go around the world, men are stricter than women are. Let's be fair, because it's true. But I've been all over the place, dude. And I mean, I'm not a bad looking dude, but I'm not no Hollywood hunk. I mean, I'm nowhere near it, right?
Yeah.
But every country I've gone into with non-white people, those women come right at you, dude. They
Hmm.
want a piece of that whiteness. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty
I would
standard thing.
say, what's his name, D'Onofrio or something like that. No, but in that show there were other outlets for that energy, especially once you get Punisher in there.
Yeah, 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 but
Um,
that show was made for the love of Daredevil. It wasn't
yes,
propaganda.
yes, correct.
That D'Onofrio was put in there because, like, dude, this guy's going to be a great kingpin. Yeah, I think he will be. We'll check it. We'll
It's
see.
kind of like No Way Home, right? No Way Home just came out, big success, $1.5 billion. Nobody even really expected it to make that much, but it did well. And the villain of it is Willem Dafoe, who's not exactly a looker, but it still makes a ton of money because this is a movie that comic book nerds, actual ones, the actual fans that they've largely tried to chase away the last couple years,
The people begging you to take their money. Those people, yeah.
yes, showed up for because they're like, wow, this was, thank you, you did this right for once. And they didn't market it towards the wine moms and the Twitterati. They made a good superhero movie and
Yeah,
people
yeah.
showed up for it.
And thank you very
But
much
that
for
is
your
why
art.
they do this
That is true. And thank you very much for your article, Michael Autism. It's perfect.
stuff.
But yeah, no, I put this up here mainly because I noticed that they are changing the comic book version and the movie version quite radically. Like Kamala Khan, we talked about last week, right? She is not. Her powers are nowhere near what it is in the comic book. She's more like armor for those you guys who know of the X-Men character. But anyway, let's move on here. This one is just beautiful.
Rust armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed, that's a name, files lawsuit against ammo supplier,
Uh huh.
blames Alec Baldwin
Uh huh.
for the killing of Hutchins.
All right. Now, this poor lady. I'm not this idiot here with this absolute fool with the mullet. But this Helena Hutchins lady. Uh, you know, have we heard any kind of memorials for her? Have we seen any? Just take a moment and talk about her career because it seems like she was pretty good at what she did.
Was
Cinematographer, right? Have we heard any of this? Have we seen any of this? Anything? Anything for
not
this
really,
dead woman? Anything?
not
Any
much.
love? No. But they certainly drop her name a lot, don't they? Yeah. Um,
Yeah,
this girl is an idiot. If anyone gets burned on this, it's going to be you, baby doll. It's going to be you. Yeah, that's Alec Baldwin. You think he's going to get in any trouble out of this? I'd be surprised if he even got a fine. At
yeah,
maximum, you're the one that's going to go to jail for this, baby girl. You are. And in
that's
all
why they hired
honesty,
you.
well, that means she did screw her job up. She did. It is her responsibility. And how is an ammo supplier in any way responsible for what you're suggesting? It's not and I understand what she's doing because Alec Baldwin has tried to put forward the theory, which is ridiculous. This simp, he's trying to say, no, the gun just went off. I didn't pull it;
Yeah,
it just went off. Right? And of course, we know that doesn't work. The bullets don't just automatically uh, exit themselves. That's not how they work. But I just thought it was interesting because she's clearly trying to deflect. She's clearly trying. Her lawyer probably is clearly trying to do anything they can to take the view off of her. Alec is helping because he shut the hell up, Alec Baldwin. And keep in mind, her dad is actually a very famous armorer. So there's money in the family, so she can afford a good lawyer. Um, but I mean, what do you think about this girl? Wouldn't it be better for her just to keep her head down and just shut up and let Alec just keep spewing like an idiot? Wouldn't that be smarter?
well, I mean, look at her. Does she look like a giant brain?
No.
Exactly. No, if our world was actually what we want it to be, and the law was applied equally, Alec would be going down for it too, for at least negligence.
As a
But
producer, yeah, yeah,
yeah, as a well, and just the guy who fired the gun, like it's if I did that, I'd go down for manslaughter. Period. Like that's just
obviously,
the end of the
yeah.
that's the truth of it. So he should too, but he's not going to.
No,
So if anything, they're going to throw her under the bus. Maybe they'll throw this random ammo supplier under the bus or something. But I don't see how you're going to get away with that when it's not his job to do final safety checks. It's the last two people who touched the thing, and that was
well,
her and him. So
that's right. And another thing, hey, DeWolf, Jesus, man, you could give me a heart attack. But another thing to keep in mind with this is that we know that they were shooting cans as target practice during their lunch breaks, which
yep.
is completely illegal on a film set, by the way. Now, before Brandon Lee's death, there were a lot of rules in place. So obviously, it's not like it's the first time they've had an accident. But after Brandon Lee, dude, the armorer rules on sets became very stringent, as they should be. I don't have a problem with that. But after Brandon, things got really super, super, super tight. And in no way should you be playing around with guns, shooting cans during lunch. And that's what's happened. If you we followed this, we've looked at all the information, and that's what happened. They were shooting. She forgot to clean the gun, and she just handed it off. And he didn't check it because he's freaking Alec Baldwin, and one of the bullets that was in there from them shooting cans killed a lady and injured the director. That's what happened. There you go, done. Right. So who's irresponsible? Well, ultimately she is, but he also holds some responsibility, not necessarily as a shooter, but as a producer in general. The buck stops here, right? I mean, that's what happened. We know that's what happened. But it would be curious to see when this wraps up. How long you think this is going to take before we have any kind of resolution? Do you think?
Oh, probably at least a year, minimum. I'd say you're going to see a lot of this back and forth with lawsuits and frivolous nonsense, and this person was actually to blame. And probably Alec Baldwin will come up with 3 or 4 more theories about how a gun went off that didn't go off on its own. Uh, you'll see a lot of this kind of nonsense. And at the end of the day, if anybody goes down for it, it'll be some no name. And that maybe that's her strategy is to try and get headlines. So it takes while it's kind of like hiding something in plain sight. If you keep your name in the headlines, it's harder for them to throw you under the bus. So maybe that's the plan here
Yeah.
because she's obviously not winning this lawsuit. It's nonsensical. I've read through some of their the language in it, and it's just nonsensical. It's not a victory waiting to happen. I can assure you.
Yeah. And you're right, DeWolf. That it is just negligence all around, and it's a sad thing. But I mean, it's interesting to me to see these two idiots going back and forth because this isn't the first time she's put out a presser. He's putting a lot. Alec really needs to shut his damn mouth. But in this whole process, what about Helena?
Yeah,
This lady who seemed to be pretty nice. Everyone seemed to like her. She was pretty skilled cinematographer, and she's dead, man. What about her? That is what pisses me off the most. Where's the love for this lady? They're just using her name. What a horrible thing has happened to old Alec Baldwin here. His complete lack of awareness of this woman had a much worse day than you did, dickhead. Anyway,
yeah.
oh
Ah,
Jesus
yes,
Christ.
yes, 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 yes. Star Wars fans roast the Book of Boba Fett, not an ounce of Star Wars. I don't know what Super Sentai episode the writers of this episode watched before they wrote this episode, but holy crap, bro.
Dude,
They
that's
pulled this right off of Power Rangers.
they did.
It looks like Power
Dude,
Rangers. Even the quality of it is Power Rangers. What are they doing on this show?
that's Robert Rodriguez, by the way. Crazy. I mean, I haven't really talked about Boba Fett much yet, but it seems because I haven't watched it. But the first episode, everyone said was really boring. They didn't really like it. It wasn't a good start. Second one, people seem to really like it. They enjoyed the second episode quite a bit. Third one, absolute train wreck, and it's from Robert Rodriguez, who's a pretty good director, dude. He does have an eye. Right,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. This is very Power Ranger esque. Look at these stupid, and they call these the Moss Vespa, by the way.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's so sad. But nah, it's really not hitting, and it's unfortunate because I'm sure a lot of people would love for this series to continue on. I mean, obviously, this is a placeholder for them to get everything in place for their next run of Mandalorian. I get it, but I'm sure people would have been happy to enjoy this. You know, Boba Fett's always been pretty popular, but they are not doing good. I suppose they still have time to right the ship, though. They do,
Yeah, probably.
but this is rather ridiculous. I mean, look at that. Did they take these? These are supposed to be these. They're supposed to be cybernetic, punks. Cybernetic punks. So what did they take this off the lot just 5 seconds ago? I mean, these look brand new. I mean, this is Moss Isley, I think. I guess the
Yeah, it
Moss
is.
Vespa. Yeah, it's Moss Isley. Nothing, one of the things about Star Wars, that's that one of the very smart things they did at that time. Space things were becoming more and more popular. Star Wars dropped, and then just you get imitators in the thousands after that, right?
Mm.
But one of the things that Star Wars did that was quite clever is they dirtied everything up.
Yeah,
Everything
it looks lived.
it looks lived in. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
And if you think about so many stuff you've watched, it's so clean. The future's clean, right? But
yeah.
this isn't the future. This is a long, long time ago, right?
Hmm.
And everything was dirty and lived in, and it was a genius move. It really is more powerful than you might realize. And that's not Star Wars, dude. That is not Star Wars. If for
No.
anything of the J.J. Abrams stuff, which is the storylines are just inane, and of course the Mary Sue in that is ridiculous, but it looked like Star Wars though. It
Yeah,
looked good. That's not Star Wars, dude. What are you doing?
I don't know what that's supposed to be. It literally looks like Power Rangers. It
It
looks
does.
like an episode of Power Rangers, but a bad one.
Yeah.
The all of these bikes or whatever they're supposed to be are way too clean and way too like 50s candy coated for
Yeah, no,
Star
it's
Wars.
it's
Star
cra-
Wars
it's
isn't
crazy.
candy coated.
No. And keep in mind these cybernetic punk kids take down a Wookiee assassin. Now, yeah, no, no, let me say it again.
Ugh.
Wookiee assassin. Wookiee assassin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
Wookiees are not to be trifled with.
and nor are they to be assassins.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. But and of course another problem is it's ridiculous the way they fighting. It's just not shot well. There's no way they could beat this Wookiee the way they shoot it. It's just a joke on top of a joke. I hear. I haven't seen it. I should go watch them just for the fun of it. It's too bad because I don't think the viewers, the Mandalorian viewers, even though they're angry about Gina Carano, John Favreau is quite popular, and I don't
Yeah,
think the fans were sitting waiting to hate this. I really don't. I think that everyone was like, okay, hopefully it's cool. We want more Mandalorian about Boba Fett. Okay, all right, let's go. Let's see what you got. Right? I kind of think that was the attitude. So this isn't like people lying in wait to just hate. That's not. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think it's genuinely just not good, and I need to
yeah.
go
It's just
watch
bad.
it just so I can have a proper opinion. But what do you think about that?
Yeah. I recommend you watch it so I don't have to. I recommend that.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean the fact that I don't think people were
No,
lying in
absolutely
wait to
not.
hate it. Yeah,
Um, I think the people who are done with these Disney Star Wars shows because of Gina Carano and other reasons, but mainly that one, I think they've made their peace with it, and they weren't going to check this out one way or the other, and they weren't looking for a reason to just be hateful towards it or whatever. I think the people who are look at that image of those children in those bikes,
yeah,
um, and go, "What am I looking at right now? This isn't Star Wars." Are people who wanted to like it, right? Because I actually don't hate the idea of. I actually love the idea of a Boba Fett TV show, of a
sure,
show about the criminal underworld of Star
yeah.
Wars. Star Wars. Could we have that, please?
He was
Because we
cool in
still,
Mandalorian.
yeah, we still don't have that. We have basically the Power Rangers at
Yeah.
this point.
Well, and DeWolf here makes a great point, dude. This is Moss Isley. Den
Yeah.
villainy. It's a poor out outer rim planet. Which the fact that it was a less known minor frontier planet was kind of the point. That's why they hid Luke there, dude. I
Yep.
mean, so it's not like they're going to have this amazing choice of sellable items. And DeWolf here says even if Seller brought these to Tatooine, they would have bought two models at most. That's right, because it is Tatooine. It's not a Coruscant, right?
Right.
And
Right.
if you saw this flying around Coruscant, it would feel out of place because this just isn't Star Wars. But it would make more sense
Yeah. At
than
least
on Tatooine.
it would have, yeah, it would have at least fit in overall to the overall narrative of wealthy and poor, right? That these two things kind of are contradictory to each other.
Yeah.
You know, the whole point of Tatooine is it's a backwater desert. Uh, Mos Eisley, a wretched hive of scum and villainy. That is not scummy or villainous. That looks like something you would buy a teenager, especially that one right in the middle there. That's preposterous. Why does it have that many mirrors? What?
Yeah,
Why?
it's silly. Because it's a girl. She's got to look at herself. But to give you another example, for instance, this series seems to be dealing with Jabba. But Jabba the Hutt, why was a hut on Tatooine? This is not in hut space, right? It's
Right.
I'm going to get nerdy on you. I do apologize. Okay. But this is not in hut space. So what is he doing? Well, he was running his galactic wide endeavors. He wasn't doing all his business on Tatooine. He probably wasn't doing much at all. That was just a place he could hide because it was such an obscure spot. Because inside hut space, the huts are very safe. They even have a deal with the Galactic Council, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
of all the trouble they had dealing with the huts. So they just kind of made a treaty, right? So in hut space, they don't have to worry much. They can do whatever kind of evil crap they want to do. But outside, they have to be more careful, and that's why Jabba's on Tatooine. It's a hideout, literally a place to hide and be unseen,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So
then also in Mos Eisley being the main starport is basically just where people who know he's there, or know people like him are there. They come for work. You know, derelicts, bounty hunters, smugglers, all sorts of reprobates
yeah,
come to this place specifically to get work as criminals, effectively.
yes,
And
scum and villainy. Once again,
yes, there's no reason that this makes any sense. That this colorfulness and this lightheartedness that is clearly, look at this picture. That looks like a lighthearted show. We're supposed to be doing a show about Boba Fett, one of the, if not the most infamous bounty hunters and killers in the galaxy, conquering and taking over the criminal organization of Jabba the Hutt.
yeah,
That's what we're supposed to be doing with this show.
yeah.
Does that look like that to you? If I told you that description of a show for that, and then I showed you this picture, you'd think I was screwing with you.
Yeah. Well, the thing also that I really need to watch this show so I can have a more informed opinion. But what I've heard from others is that they're trying to improve Boba Fett's arc, and
Yeah.
he only hunted bad people. No, he didn't.
Ugh,
No, he
no, he
didn't.
didn't. Right.
And why should he, dude? He's a villain. Go ahead, make a story from the villain's point of view. That could be really cool. Go for
Yeah.
it, full on, right? He
It
might be an
makes total
honorable
sense
bounty
why
hunter.
Boba Fett hates Jedi. They
Yes, it
murdered his
does,
father right in
dude.
front of
Right
him.
in front of him, dude. Yeah.
Of course he hates Jedi. That makes total sense that he'd be cool with hunting down Luke and everybody and all these Jedi. I believe that. That was one of the best things that Lucas did in the prequels was how he connected the Fett, made Boba Fett an actual character. He fleshed him out.
Yeah, baby. Quadrophenia. Cyborg gang chase scene from the book Boba Fett was beyond asinine. I agree. You get it, Cafe Racer. You get it. Vespa Racer. Sorry, these are Vespas, I guess. Yeah, they're Vespas. Yeah, that's funny, dude. Oh, whatever. People are really. Oh no, no. Yo, even have the bicycle helmets on, dude.
I
Oh,
love it.
Jesus Christ,
I love it.
Vespas. Cho. Eddie Izzard just comes to my mind. You ever seen his routine?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
hilarious. Yeah, Cho.
I
Cho.
mean, my goodness, who thought that looked good? It could have been cool if they gave them like actual things that look like bikes, right? They're supposed to be like a biker gang or whatever.
Right.
Could have been cool. You could have even had colorful ones, but you can't have them be bright and candy coated.
No, they got to be more
What are you
piecemeal
doing?
looking. They got to have scratches and rubs on them. It's Star Wars,
Ah,
dude.
ah,
But whatever, whatever. I mean, it's it's a shame because I think it could have been cool. I wouldn't have minded to see a fun Boba Fett. The only reason I haven't checked it out yet is because it's getting slammed, dude. I gotta watch it though, and I don't mind this lady. Although I know she's going to be annoying, but I don't mind her.
yeah,
She was fine, and because Mandalorian had plenty of woke shit in it, there was plenty of
yeah.
feminism in it, but it was just something that was there. It wasn't the story, right? And I overall enjoyed the Mandalorian. But anyway, I got to move on, dude, because this next one is just freaking outrageous.
Ah, yes, this ghoulish creature. Look at that. Look at this beauty. G4 host Indiana Black. All right, first of all, that's her name.
Uh huh.
Uh-huh. Claims viewers are unconsciously biased against her because she is, quote, not as bangable as the previous hosts, end quote. Yeah, no, it's not unconscious.
Was that even on the table? I'm not sure that was on the table. You
I
know,
don't think it's unconscious at all. Yeah, you're not
no,
pretty, and we'd rather you be pretty.
yeah,
What?
you dress like a boy and you want to be a
Yeah,
boy, and because she's not as bangle as the previous host. I'm going to come back to that in a minute because I actually think there's a bit of psychology there. But yeah, that's not even in question. No one was questioning that because you
yeah,
are not, baby.
yeah,
You are not.
yeah,
Oh my God, dude. Olivia Munn
exactly.
is extremely, exquisitely bangable, dude.
Yeah,
There's a lot of pretty girls in Hollywood, but she is sexy. Now that's rare.
yeah,
She's just dripping, dude. She's dripping. Look at this girl. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. God damn it, dude.
dripping
That
in heat over
dripping.
there.
Yeah, just I mean that girl is ultimately bangable, unlike 99% of the women in Hollywood, right? Okay, so you're not competing with that anyway, so I don't even know why you thought you would. But and you say, well, that's not what she's saying. It is what she's saying, dude. Because here's the thing.
Yeah,
Here's my psychology on this, right? Because I think we're missing a big part of this equation. Right now, we've talked about before that way back in the 80s, 90s, probably as well, if you were a nerd like myself, you were a nerd. Oh, you stupid comic book nerd, you stupid D&D nerd, you stupid, right? We were nerds and we were not the popular kids, and the popular kids always had to snub their noses at us quite regularly. Now, I was a big guy that would break your freaking head open, so I didn't get people trying to pick on me physically. And I actually cracked a few heads for people who were doing it to others. I was that guy, right? I was the
mm,
nerd defender because they couldn't break me, right? And they were afraid to even try. But I was still a nerd though. They snubbed me and all that kind of stuff, just like many of us have felt, and that's fine. That's culture. That's just the way life is, right? But today we live in a world where nerd is cool. But these fashionable people, the popular kids, still doing the same shit they've always done. They're
yep.
still snubbing us. They're still pushing us aside, and that's why we get all this nonsense. But here's the thing: where is all this violence and anger and vitriol coming from? This anger, because these people are unhappy. We've discussed this several times. They're not happy people. Well, where's that coming from? Well, it's unconscious. Because look what this girl did. She is desperately trying to be a dyke. She's desperately trying, right? If you
Mm,
can't, I don't see the full. They have maybe have a full view. Go watch this thing. If you'd like. This is scripted, by the way. It's rather ridiculous. Here, now look at her. She's sitting like a dude. She's dressed like a dude. She's trying everything she can to be a dude. But if you go and watch it, and you can see just from the headline, she's not that. See, you have a lot of these people that are wearing the sheep's skin, yeah.
mm,
And they are desperately trying to represent something, but it's not who they are. They're not being their true selves. Therefore, their unconscious is coming and bubbling up. in
Hmm.
extreme levels of frustration. And if you go and listen to this thing she did, which I'm not going to play because we're not big enough not to get struck because we get struck. But she is clearly what she's really saying is, why aren't I bangable? I want to be bangable. And if she was a real dyke like she was trying to be, why would she care about being bangable by dudes? You're a lesbian, right? Right? You don't
Yeah,
care about that, right? But if you go listen to her, even though this is clearly scripted, there is emotion in her voice, in her eyes. She's not happy, dude. And it's because she wants to be seen as bangable. She's just a girl. She's not what she's representing herself. And so many of them are like this. They are wearing the sheep's skin, and therefore their unconscious is screaming on a daily basis. And this is why we have so much anger and frustration coming out of them, and therefore violence, because and they don't I don't even think they realize what they've done to themselves, to be honest. But that's what's happening. And if you go watch this, watch it with that mindset, you'll see what I mean. This girl desperately wants to be seen as attractive. She wants to be bangable.
I
Y-
agree with you. It's basically just jealousy. It's just envy being projected out of her onto the onto the people, as if this idea that you have an unconscious bias because you wish I was, or I'm not as sexy as those other girls. No, it's pretty conscious. We're pretty cognizant of our biases towards beautiful women. I think it's one thing most men on the planet agree with.
Yeah,
We like pretty women, and we like to watch them on our screens. We don't want to watch
sure.
whatever that is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna let you continue, but I put these pictures of Olivia up for a reason.
Yeah.
There is very few women who can compete with this dude. I mean, you could go name your prettiest Hollywood actress that you think's pretty. You're not competing with this. This girl is dripping sexy. She's rare. You can't compete with this. You shouldn't even think you could. And she was put on the show. If any of you know anything about G4, and Thunder and I were talking about it before, this girl did all kinds of sexual shit. I hate to be a bearer of bad news. Olivia Munn knows shit about video games, dude. She
Oh
was on
yes,
that
I was.
show because she would put, dick shape, as you had said, dick shaped food in her mouth, and
Yeah.
do sexy dances. That's why she was there, and she knew it. Everybody knew it, and they were all good with it. But I'm just saying, you can't compare apples to oranges, baby. And well, even though I know she's trying to make some woke progressive statement, that's not her heart. Go watch this. Go watch it. You'll see exactly what I mean. This girl desperately wants to be bangable, and it's sad, dude. I have sympathy for her, actually. I use the word sympathy. You know how strict I am about that.
Well, and then what happens is on the other side of it, pretty young girls. That happens to them anyway, right? They hit what we call the wall, and they
Yeah,
fall apart
yeah.
because they put all of their self esteem into the fact that they're really pretty. And then when that is no longer really the case, bye bye, bye
Yeah,
bye
well,
self esteem, and they break. But this one here, this poor lady is just unlucky genetically, and she hasn't done anything to help that situation
well,
either.
she's trying
Whether
really
it be
hard.
this
Yeah, yeah,
this
that's true.
ridiculous haircut, this ridiculous piercings making her look like a cattle, the
Yeah.
fact that she doesn't have her teeth fixed, her teeth are all messed up. Like
Yeah,
there's
no.
the tattoos on her arms and things and on her hands. It's just she's
Yeah,
done
no,
everything
it's
she can to
ridiculous.
make herself unattractive and then complains when people say, "Hey, you're unattractive." Well, yeah, you
Yeah,
kind of did that to
you did it
yourself there,
yourself.
sugar.
But there's another thing to keep in mind with this, though. Now they say her name's Indian and Black, but they also call her Frosk, which is like, what's Frog? Why is she Frog? Is her name's Frog? I guess she's Frog. But anyway, the thing that's interesting about this is, if you listen to what she's saying before, really seems to know video games, or at least she did the
Mhm.
research. But she seems to be an actual gamer.
Yeah,
So here's the difference. You're clearly upset that men are objectifying you, and yada yada yada. But that's not, of course, what they're doing. People were just asking, "Hey, is Olivia coming back?" But here's the thing: Olivia has a time limit on her,
yeah,
and it's already here. Really, you haven't seen much of her, right? Because she's hit that wall. And you know what? Even though you're being a clown, this wall doesn't apply to you because you're not there to be pretty. You're there to be a
Exactly.
video game reviewer. So that's a good thing for you, right? But I know there's a lot of opinions on this. The internet is blown up over it. The G4 is dead in the water. X-Play, of course. But it's I feel there's more of a unconscious cry for help if you go and watch it. But that's my final opinion on it. Anything else?
I don't know if you could hear my wife, but she's sitting in my lap right now. She doesn't feel well, and
Aw,
she said, she's looking at the screen. She goes, "Why is this girl dressed like a man?"
because she wants us to think she is, but she's not though. You can tell from her
Oh,
expressions that she's not what she's portraying herself to be. Anyway, I'm going to move
it's
on.
such a shame.
Yeah, it
G4
is
used
a
to be
shame.
so cool.
Yeah, you know, and you know what? You don't have to try this hard. You clearly are a video gamer. You clearly do your research. So good on
Yeah,
you,
yeah. I
right?
think I've always been of the position that there's nothing wrong with objectification, especially if somebody's willingly wants that to happen, like Olivia Munn
Oh,
did,
sure. Yeah,
and makes all kinds of money off of it. But
sure.
even in day to day life, being an object of someone's desire is a compliment. It's a good thing. You shouldn't think of yourself as less human because another human finds you sexually attractive. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's weird that your brain takes it to this weird materialist plane where if somebody has a sexual attraction to you or thinks you're sexy, you are now the same thing as a shoe.
Yeah, no,
What?
it's dumb, especially because the way humans work, we objectify everything. It's how we
Everything.
know not to eat poison and, not get eaten by the lion. It's what we do, right? But
Mhm.
anyway, this is sad because she goes on this hateful, hateful rant. All the fans are horrible. They're horrible, 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 horrible. But if you read between the lines and look at her emotion, you'll see that's not really what she thinks. But just for funsies, hmm yeah. Oh,
Esther's in love, if you, in case you couldn't tell,
oh,
babe.
come on, dude. That girl is banging hot, dude. Right? Anyway,
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 director James Gunn says film is quote different than what people are going to expect, end quote.
okay.
James, you say that about every one of your movies.
He does.
Like
He does.
every single one, he says that.
Um, yeah, he does. But there are some interesting things in this article, though. Now he's of course upcoming, and I've already noticed that there are episodes available for the HBO Max Peacemaker, at least one episode. So it's
Yeah.
actually already started, and people seem to be enjoying it. I guess I haven't heard so much negative. I only heard a couple of positive comments, but Gunn has praised the actor Chukwudi Iwuji, and revealed, well, actually, that would be African, so Iwuji, and revealed he plays one of the main characters in the film. Okay, I have no freaking clue. All right. However, he also know the film won't be what people are expecting. Okay. It's going to be great. Chikwundi, who plays Mern in Peacemaker, is one of the main characters in the movie, and people are freaking out over how good this guy is. Literally freaking out. Okay. All right, James. Keeping your pants. I think that I'm really happy. I gave a bunch of scenes to Marvel right before Christmas break. Kevin went. They were really, really, really stoked. He added again. Then stated, but also it's not going to be what be the movie people want. It's different than what people are going to expect. It's a hard road, but I'm really happy with it so far. As for what people are expecting and how it's going to be different, Gunn didn't elaborate. However, back in November, he did describe the film as stories about attempting to recover from childhood trauma.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
He tweeted, "The Guardians movies are, at the end of the day, a story about attempting to recover from childhood trauma, are they? And trauma/abuse survivors share many characteristics, whether their trauma was physical, mental, sexual, or some combination of the three." Now, James, Since your trauma days, you make fun flicks, and you've honed your skills down. I know there's a lot of controversy around you, but Mr. Edgelord, but you're a fair movie maker. You're very capable, and your movies, Guardian of the Galaxy 2, and all the representation in the Avengers stuff. People don't go watch them because of some you know, childhood trauma or some kind of deep meaning. They're fun. You shut your brain off, eat your damn popcorn, and enjoy the fun. They're
Yeah.
fun. Did I miss that?
Apparently he did.
Or is this him virtue signaling for dark comments? Shall I say?
Dark is an understatement, but
You know,
yes.
yeah. But Yeah, oh, dude, because we all expect that Adam Warlock is coming, don't we? Don't we? Doesn't it? Don't we? I mean, come on. We all expect
Well, we
Adam
keep
is coming.
hearing.
He's right there. He's right inside that box. We want Adam Warlock, and James Gunn handling will be fun because he makes fun movies, dude. They're fun, dude. So I
Mhm.
don't know. This could be just bullshit. Him just kind of being Hollywood. But boy, I hope he doesn't do that, dude. Jesus. I
Well,
mean,
we'll see what he does. I have a sneaking suspicion he's just being James Gunn, meaning he's just kind of talking out of his butt.
yeah, I have a feeling too. I hope so because I know out of all, there are a lot of fun Marvel movies. We enjoyed it. Things have kind of gone downhill rapidly. But however, there are a lot of fun Marvel movies, and they're just popcorn films. That's all they are. There's a couple of good ones in there that were more, but mainly they're popcorn films. And the Guardians of the Galaxy were the most popcorny of them all. And my family loves these movies. Me too. They're fun, dude. They're just pure fun. Batista, even though he's a moron, an absolute moron, he's great as Drax. Even this unaware self. I don't know what even to call this Gamora lady, but even her character was fun. What's the dude there that plays the raccoon there? What's his name?
Bradley Cooper?
Bradley Cooper. He's awesome. It's just fun, dude. And oh God, I hope he doesn't do something stupid with it. Just have some fun, dude. They have to deal with Adam Warlock. Great, go for it. You know.
Right.
So anyway, that's all I got on it. I just thought it was, oh Jesus, James. It might be virtue signaling though. It might just be that. But because we know all about his childhood trauma, and the guy who kept saying he was going to eat him is his dad, and one of the greatest moments in Marvel movies history with Yondu saying, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all." That was freaking heartwarming. Heartwarming. Tears may have come, right?
It's
Uh,
okay.
so yeah, there's no trauma there. That has been circled and hugged out, baby. All right. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Hang on one second. I'm trying to adjust the brightness on my new monitor, but it is making it a chore of it. Fans rally on social media to get fifth season for Young Justice. Why?
Well,
I see the first two seasons of Young Justice were awesome. I tried to watch that third season; it was a damn train wreck. I hear four is a lot better,
Well, it's on
but
HBO Max, right? I haven't seen it yet, but
yeah,
it seems it's doing well, and the fans they're probably going to get a fifth anyway. But the fans are kind of unifying to try to make sure they get one, and they're being quite boisterous about it, which is great. Hopefully, HBO Max will listen. And DeWolf, I agree 100%. I did love Infinity War; it was a great movie, but boy, how much better it would have been better if we had not had the dumbass Captain Marvel, and instead what we should have had, Adam Warlock. I agree. Yes. But anyway, back to this. My kids absolutely adored this. This was during their time, and we had that great run from the ending of Batman animated series, which I did show rerun stuff to my kids, and then all the greatness that came after that. There was a great run in American animation for a while, right? And Young Justice, I watched with my kids, and it was fun, dude. I mean, it's for teenage kids. I mean, obviously, but it was pretty good. I was like, all right, this isn't bad, especially season one. That was awesome. But so for me personally, I didn't know it was back. I think I'm glad it's back. And yeah, more Young Justice. I don't. I'm all for it, dude. You didn't watch this?
I
Feels like
watched I watched the first, like I said, I first two seasons. Tried to watch the third season, but it was a damn train wreck, so I checked out.
yeah. Well, you know what happened? Young Justice was the end of that, and this is when the Steven Universe stuff was coming in, and it was all that pushback and like, oh, these things are so expensive to make. Steven Universe is better, and it was that transition period. It's when the Teen Titans, which was great, became Teen Titans Go, which was not, right?
Hmm.
The complete waste because Teen Titans was the same vein as Young Justice, but and unfortunately it ended, and that's why season three was a mess because it was piecemealed, it was canceled, and then they were brought back, and it was a mess because it was a mess in the studio at that time. And it's cool that HBO Max picked it up and they put out another season, which I haven't seen. Um, and it looks like we got a Muslim girl. Cool. We need lots of them because they're not the enemy at all. But I'm all for it because I thought what the storytelling they were doing in Young Justice was fun, and it is a teenage. It's for teenage kids, but so what? They need good stuff too.
Yeah, no, it's good. Me and my wife watched it, the first two seasons of it, uh, and like I said, it was really good. It was very strong, very well made.
Yeah,
The script writing was really good. They
yeah,
actually took the universe and was very respectful with it, and
hmm
we're doing some pretty cool stuff with it. One of the best lines that explains Batman very simply is in that show. And effectively, there's an argument between him and Wonder Woman. Well, not really an argument, a little bit of one, but not really. Where she's basically calling him kind of a weirdo because he takes kids and trains them to be crime fighters.
yeah. Good
And
point.
she says something to the effect of trying to make him into a little you or something like that. And he says, "No, I do it because I don't want him to become me." And that's correct. That was a correct interpretation of Batman's motivations. That he understands that most of the, well, especially the Robins, these kids that he trains are damaged. They've been through a great trauma of some description.
hmm
So he gives them this outlet to kind of deal with it. And I
Yeah,
think the best example of that being successful is Dick Grayson. He's beloved by everybody. He's the most well-adjusted of all the Bat family, and he's just a great dude. Just genuinely a great dude. So I think it worked. I think Bruce was correct in his assessment on what was needed to help
yeah.
Dick deal with that trauma.
His young ward.
And yes,
Yeah.
and I just think it's a great little descriptor of Batman and the Bat family, of what they are to Batman, right?
Yeah,
That he's not trying to make a bunch of little hymns. He's trying to stop that from happening
yeah.
because he doesn't want anybody to end up like him.
And Jeff, don't you judge me. That was a wonderful scene. It was touching and heartwarming. He died. Spoilers. But yeah, no, I'm all for this. I think it's great. The fans are enthusiastic. They're just coming out in droves, saying please, please, more, more, more. So I should go watch season four because I agree with you. Season three was a mess, but it was a mess because of what was going on.
Hmm.
There was literally a lot of headhunting going on. There was a lot of this transition to this nonsense garbage that's called Steven Universe esque art and storytelling. And I'm glad to see it back, and I need to go watch it because I really enjoyed it. I mean, that whole run was great, dude. I mean, you got Batman, you got Superman, Superman, Batman. Even Blue and Gray was great. That was funny. You had Teen Titans, you had Young Justice, you had Avatar, The Last Airbender. All
Hmm.
of that came out in that period. And of course, toward the end of it, they had the Ben 10 thing, which my kids were a little older and they didn't really get into that as much. So I don't know that one as much, but it was a great run of American animation, right? And you know how we can struggle with that when, especially up against the Japanese. I mean, goodness gracious. But I mean, but
Mm.
then again, that's all the Japanese have. Their cinema is awful, awful.
Yeah,
So all
it
they
is.
have is their anime anyway. But yeah,
I
cool.
recommend if you want to see an interesting little, it's like a video, like music video type situation for Western animation. It's by that song, Little Dark Age or My Little Dark Age, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and it's just somebody clipped together a bunch of really awesome Western animation from Disney to all the way down to TV shows, and how amazing it used to be compared to now,
Yeah,
especially. I recommend that. Just look it up. Look, it's a Little Dark Age Western animation. I think is all the video is called. Just check that out and lament at what we've lost because Western animation used to just be unmatched in its visual quality.
yeah. Well, it inspired Japanese, and therefore
Yeah.
anime came out of that, right? Particularly Walt Disney. He was huge influence on the Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and we haven't had as much stuff with this kind of crappy art and bad programming, and I mean that in the multiple tiers and layers that it is. We have had a consistent drop of DC comics movies though, animated movies. And DC's always been better in animation than they have at live action. This has not been changed. They haven't come up with a movie that's changed that opinion, right? Whereas Marvel clearly is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
But so we have had some good, DC movies drop since. I would like to see us get back to a more ambitious art. And maybe, just maybe, because manga and anime just absolutely exploding on the Western world, maybe we'll see them try to be a little competitive. That whole free
Be
market thing.
nice. Be nice.
It would be nice.
Competition's better for everybody.
Would be. And that League of Legends thing might be a good example of it, because it's way woke, dude. It's crazy woke. But it is fantastically gorgeous. Have you
Yeah.
seen it yet?
I haven't. No, I don't really care about League of Legends to be honest with you.
Well, neither do I. But just so you know, that arcane is what I'm talking about. It is
Yeah.
gorgeous, just straight up gorgeous. It's woke as shit, so you might not be able to get through it because it's heavy handed, dude. But oh, it's so beautiful though. I want more of that. I just don't want
Mm.
it. I want it to be just fun instead of political though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would be nice.
it shows you what they could
Would be
do.
nice.
Yeah.
Josh, did you ever go see No Way Home?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, you gotta see it, bro. It's good.
I will when it becomes available on the Blu-ray.
It's good. It's good. It's good. It's good.
I
It's
have
good.
a really nice entertainment system in my room here.
It's good. Yeah. No, Young Justice. I hope season 4 is as good as I hear it is, because I probably will check it out. I might just skip season 3 entirely. Just catch like I'm sure there's YouTube videos with like recaps and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, because it was unwatchable. It was bad. It
yeah,
wasn't. It was clearly a haberdashed, piecemeal together, like you said,
yeah.
season.
Well,
And that's a shame because the first two seasons were so tight and so well told
you're beautiful.
that
Yeah,
that third one is just like, this is bad. This isn't good. It's not even like politically it's bad or whatever.
no.
There is some weird politics stuff in it, but that's not even the issue. The issue is everything else around it is just not good. It's not well done, not well made. It's low quality,
Well, it's
and
janky.
it shows. Yeah.
Yeah, because the storyline jumps all over. It's like, huh? Well, how many years later? What's going on? And
Yeah.
it's just because I don't even think the episodes were put out in a proper order. Right? It was
Mm.
just a hot mess going on with it. And to be fair, they shouldn't even put it out because there was things were getting canceled, people are being pulled on to other projects. It was a hot mess behind the scenes, and it was unwatchable. However, this new Phantoms that HBO Max is running, people seem to love it and awesome. And if you look here, we got Miss Martian, we got Superboy. This is Connor. By the way, the Connor Kent, the clone, And of course, we got Beast Boy there in the middle.
Yep.
Looks like looks like they've aged him up a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit more mature because he was always kind of the most childish, right? But
Hmm.
maybe they've aged him up a little bit. Anyway, that's what we got for you today. Thank you all very much. Do appreciate it. It was fun. Tomorrow we got comic book stuff to talk about. There's a lot to talk about actually. So we'll definitely be getting into that. But other than that, thank you. Appreciate you guys coming over, have a little bit of fun and a little bit of a laugh, and we'll see you tomorrow. So Thundero takes out of here, man.
Much to say. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope everyone has a good night, and we will talk more comic book stuff in the PM, for me anyway,
Hmm.
tomorrow.
Yep. Later, guys.